Hi, before we move on to our next lesson, we're doing a recap of 1.4, which is circles in a coordinate plane. We learned about the equation of a circle, which was x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. xy is any point on the circle, that's the purple one. hk is the center of the circle, which is the red. And the radius is green, r radius. So that's all of these all of these all of these factors are part of this equation of a circle. We're going to do some practice based on what we learned in the previous lesson. So this one we did examples where we had to graph the circle equation, and they gave us this format. So if you remember what the formula is, which is up there, we need to know what our center is and what our r is. So for this one, basically the equations given of a given circle can be written as this. So remember when I did that change, because the standard form is negative between the two, the x and the h and the y and the k, this has to be negative. This is the same as this. So once you have that, then you can determine your center and your radius. So we already have the radius is just 3, and then these two represent your h and your k, as stated. So once you do that, you can plot it on the graph. You got your center, and your radius is 3 all around from the center, and then you draw your circle. So there you go. We did examples of that. But I also gave you a tip that if you don't remember doing this, then you do the square root of this number, whatever number, at the end of the equation, and you look at your numbers, the sign that is in front of it, do the opposite. So this one has a negative, this one has a minus sign, it would be a positive, this one is positive, it would be a negative. That's another way of remembering. And another example where we did was write the equation of a circle that passes through the center point and an end point. So in order to find the radius, we had to do the distance formula, as shown here. So basically it's x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. But in this case they had the y's first and the x. It doesn't matter which order they're in, because it's a commutative property. So once you do that, you plug it in. And remember, if you have a negative number and it's going to be placed behind a minus, put a parentheses, and they did that. So that way to avoid any sign mistakes. So you simplify, and this gives you a 13. And then once you have your radius, you know your radius is 13. The center, they told you, was 6, 4. You just plug it into the formula, the equation, circle equation, as shown here. So you substitute the 1 for h, and then the k with negative 8. Yeah, sorry, the center is not for 6, 4. Center is 1, negative 8. Sorry about that. So you plug it in, and then you have your radius, which is 13, and you know you're going to have to square it, and then there you go. There's your circle equation. All right. Before we go on to the lesson, I have a YouTube video to show you that will lead us into our next lesson. It might be a little hokey, but hey, it works. Okay. Oops. Get this out, and then this out. Alright, so based on the videos, they showed you different types of angles. So this leads on to our lesson, which is angle measures. And with angle measures, the objective is, how do we measure and classify angles and identify congruent angles and angles formed by angle bisector? So, we need to know the definition when it comes to dealing with angles. Based on the video, we've learned the different types of angles, but now we need to break them apart and then see what each of them means. So we have a ray. A ray is a part of a line. An array has one endpoint and extends indefinitely in one direction. And if you were to draw a picture of it, this is what it would look like. Got the endpoint and the arrow, the line, it keeps on going and going. Opposite rays. Two rays with a common endpoint that form a line. So you have the blue line and the orange line, and they have a common point. Angles, as we learned from the video, an angle is formed by two non-collinear rays with a common endpoint. Notice how they have the two rays, and they have an endpoint, and it creates an angle. There we go, just as you saw in the video. The vertex of an angle is the common endpoint of the two sides of the angle. So where the endpoint is, that is the vertex. You're going to hear like, okay, the vertices. Vertices is the plural for vertex. So if you have a square, the square has 4 corners, it's 4 vertices. So 4 of those points, those endpoints. Congruent angles are angles that have the same measure. So congruent, basically this one is 30, the other one is 30. So they're congruent, they're the same, they're equal. They're congruent. So now it says for the angles to the right, draw the following. So they want you, for the first one, they said points X, Y, and Z are on the angle. So I'm going to draw those points. So I got X, I'm going to put X here, Y, and I have Z. I'll put a point on that. So these 3 points are on the angle. They said that points M, L, and M are in the interior of the angle. So this is the interior, the inside. So I'm going to put point L, and I'm going to put point M. They're inside the angle. Then the other one is points F and G in the exterior of the angle. So that means outside, the back side will be here. So I put an F here, and I'll put a G. So we got on the line, on the angle, inside, the interior, and then exterior. Alright, so they say use a diagram to name an example of each of the following. So they say this angle, name this angle. So there's 2 ways to name this. I can name it by the points that are on the line or by the vertex. So this one is angle BAC or CAB. I can also call it angle A. If it's not sharing if there's not another angle sharing that same point, endpoint, then I could label it angle A, which I'm going to write angle A. And then they want you to know what point is the vertex. The vertex, you got 2 rays where they share a common point, endpoint is the vertex, point A. That's how you would write it, point A. Or write the word point A. Name the 2 sides. You got side AB and side AB and AC. And this is the symbol. This represents that it's a ray, not a line. So you got to be careful too. You got to write the symbols, because if you just put AC, I'm going to assume that you're writing about a line or a segment. I don't know. But as long as you put a symbol, then I'll like, oh, okay. They're talking about a ray. that's part of that angle. So be precise. Alright, so now we've got some examples. They say name all the angles that have W as a vertex. So we have a few of them. I see angle 2, I see angle 3, I see angle 1. This part, angle XWY, I got VWZ. So let's see what is written. So angle 1, 2, 3, or you can label it as angle XYZ, XWZ, VWY, or ZWY. Make sure whatever the middle letter is the vertex. That's the middle part of the vertex of the angle. It always is in the middle. It takes the second place. So maybe you might have ZYX is the same as ZWX is the same as XWZ. It's the same angle, you just started at a different point, endpoint, to get to the other side. And then you have the other two. So name the sides of angle 1. So this is angle 1. The two rays that share a common endpoint to create that angle. So we got WX and WZ. And notice how W comes first, because the endpoint is your starting point. Because it's a ray, you have a starting point, and then it just shoots off to wherever direction. So that's why you start off with W, and then Z or X tells you that you're just going on into that direction. Z tells you the direction, X tells you the direction, W is the starting point, is the end point. Write another name for angle WYZ. WYZ, that's angle 4. So this is showing you that how many different ways you can name an angle. So vertex is the middle, so that letter has to be in the middle when you're labeling it. And an angle always has 3 letters. 3 letters when you're labeling it. Notice it's 3. If there's 2 letters, then that means you're telling me it's a line. If there's 3, it's an angle. Okay, another one. Same thing with what we did with the other one, but with a different diagram. Name all the angles that have V as a vertex. So there's V. I see 7, 6, 5. I see ABG. Or it could be GBA. So let's see what we have. Yeah, the 4 of them. Name the sides of angle 5. Should be only 2, and you got the starting point. So BG and BE. You can also say BF. And write another name for angle 6. There's 2 ways, depending on which point you start at. It could be DBE or EBD. Alright, so this from the video, we learned about the different types of angles. Right angle, if you remember, it's 90 degrees. So this is 90 degrees. You'll see that little symbol that tells you that it's a right angle. For an acute angle, oops, why do I have that dot there? Acute angle, it's less than 90 degrees. So I'm going to label, so this was angle A. This is going to be angle B. And I'm going to, where's my line? So that's angle B. So this is my angle. That's an acute angle. It's less than 90. And then my obtuse angle is going to be greater than 180, greater than 90, but less than 180. So if I were to draw that, I could start from here, and then I could have it going this way. And then I need to specify, actually, purple. That's my angle. Make that angle C. So I got right angle, 90 degrees, acute, less than 90, obtuse, greater than 90, but less than 180. Now, when it comes to measuring angles, there's a tool that you use, and it's called a protractor. It looks like a half circle, and it has numbers on the side, inside and outside. This is used used to measure angles. The steps to use it is you line up one ray with the bottom of the protractor, and the second step is the vertex must be on the center of the protractor. The protractor has a little circle in the center. It's like an open hole. That's where the vertex is going to be, and then where you're going to lay it so that way you can measure. And then the lined up ray points to 0. So wherever your line is that you're gonna put your protractor on, that's going to be 0, and determines which row of numbers to use. So it depends on which direction you're starting from, but I'm going to show you examples of this. So for the first one, they want us to round this to the nearest whole degree using the protractor. So I have my protractor. Notice this is my vertex, and I put the center on there. Notice how this line where it says 0, I'm using this ray to be my starting point. So I have that, and I have to make sure that it's lined up. Okay, so now I start at 0. Since this is my 0 point, I'm going to be measuring going up. So I'm not using this one because I'm not starting at 180 and then going backwards. So I'm starting at 0. So I go 0, 10, 20, 30. So that means it's 30 degrees. Okay, the next one. Let me get this set up. So for this, I don't know why I have that line there. So I'm going to turn this way. Make sure it's right. The middle center of it is going to be at the vertex, and I'm going to line up my ray with the bottom of the protractor. So I see it's 0. Now I'm trying to get I'm starting here, and I want to see what is the angle measurement when I end up here. So I'm going to use 0 and then count up. So I'm using the inside numbers, and it looks like it is approximately 118 degrees. Alright, so I'm going to see, they want us to measure and classify each angle. So let's go back, let's use the protractor. Let me turn it this way. They want us to find PMQ. PMQ, put the center on the vertex, which is M. I'm going to be using the outside numbers because I'm using this line as my ray as the starting point. So 0. So I'm going to go up. So 10. So it looks like it's 34 degrees. So that means it is less than 90. It is an acute angle. So it's 34, and I should write acute. All right, let's see PMR. PMR, I already have it set up. I'm using the outside. It shows 90. So that means it's a right angle. So I'm going to put the word right, and then it should show me 90 degrees. Now I'm looking for PMQ. When I say PMQ, QMS, angle QMS. So this, I'm going to use MQ as my starting point. M is my middle, so the middle of the protractor is on that vertex. I'm starting at Q. I want to get to S, which is here. So I'm going to use the outside because I'm starting at 0. Go all the way, and it shows 100, and 100 is more than 90, so that means it is obtuse. And I found it to be 100 degrees. There you go. So that's how you use a protractor. If you don't have a protractor, you know where to get them. Staple, Target. If there's any, they might be homework. I'm not sure, because it depends on what we choose. But that might deal with you using a protractor. But if anything, if you don't have a protractor right away, you can always go online, find images of protractors, trace it on the screen, use a tracing paper or whatever that can light can shine through, so you can actually trace it, cut it out, and then put it on some, like a heavy duty cardboard, cut it out, and you have your protractor. That's the do-it-yourself way of having a protractor without having to buy one. Alright, so now it's to measure and classify each angle as right, obtuse, or acute. So angle TYU, that's acute. It's actually TYU. TYV is 90. The reason why it's 90, because look at this little symbol. If this is 90, and you know a line is 180, then this also has to be 90, because this line is 180, 90, 90, 180. So this is 90. WYT, well, I should get the protractor for this one. Let me see, that's the tool. Where is it? That's pencil, where's the tool? Add-on account. Unless it moved. Pen, format, oh, there it is. Measurement tool, protractor. Alright, so we have our protractor. Let me go back to full screen. And then I'm measuring WYT. So move that. I'm going to put the center here. WYT. So since I'm starting here, I'm going to go in this direction, the outside numbers. And it shows 129. It says 134. So that's, I have everything lined up. So that's way off. So I'm going to, because that number was there, that should be 129. And of course it's obtuse. So let's just cross this out. And this one is right angle. And then the last one, TYU. TYU, it's already set up. It shows it to be 44, and it's acute angle. It says 45, 44, 45. Alright. So yeah, so that's how you use a protractor. Alright, so now it says this is a critical thinking example. Talking about 5-point star are among the most commonly used artistic and decorative shape. The angles of each point are congruent to each other. So if angle A is n 7n minus 4 and angle B is 3n plus 36, solve for n as well as the measurement of each angle. So that means these two are congruent. If A and B and C and D are all congruent, that means they're the same, they're equal to each other. So then you could set it up as 7n. So angle A is congruent. Remember that symbol? So then that means that they are equal to each other. Then you just solve for n. So that'll be, and you add 4n equals 40, divide by 4. So n equals 10. And now you need to find out what the measurements are. So you found the first one. Now you need to find out which one of them. Doesn't matter which one you choose because they should be the same. But you know what? I'm going to do both. So that would be 70 minus 4. That gives you 66 degrees. 30. That gives you 66 degrees. So there you go. All angles are 66 and n equals 10. So just got to pay attention to what they're asking you for, what they give you, in order to figure out how to solve it. Alright, the next one is angle bisector. Angle bisector is a ray that divides an angle into two congruent angles. So you hear the word bisect, you bisect something in half. So for this one, they want you to solve for x. They gave you these two. They say MO, ray MO, bisects angle NMP. So when they say bisect, right away, ding, 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 equal. So then you just set those two equal to each other, and then you solve for x. So you subtract 4x on both sides. This would be 3x minus 33 equals 12. And then you add 33 on both sides. And you get 3x. It's a weird 3 over there, but hey. And then you divide, let me extend that, divide by 3. And you should get x equals 15. Since they ask you to solve for x, that's all you need to do, just solve for x. You don't need to plug it in. That's your answer. Alright, so this one says that AB and BC are opposite rays. That's opposite ray creates a line. And BF, ray BF and bisects angle CBE. So this one bisects this angle. So that means 3 and 4. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. And then BD bisects angle ABE. So I'm going to use another color. So this. So that means angle 1 bisects angle 2. Alright, so now we've marked up everything we need. Get into the habit of marking up stuff, because that way when you have to set up an equation to solve, you have all the information needed, and you will know what to do. So if angle 1 is 4x, this is 4x plus 10, and angle 2 is 5x, find angle 2. Alright, so I need to set this up so I know that they're congruent to each other. And I have to find angle 2. So the first step I need to do is find x. And I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides and wipe out the positive 10 there. So x is equal to 10. We're not done. We need to find angle 2. See angle 2? Angle 2 is equal to 5x. And then when you plug it in, 5 times 10. Angle 2 is equal to 50 degrees. Angle 2 equal 50 degrees. Make sure you put your degree symbol because you're dealing with angles. There you go. So pay attention also, if they ask you to find an angle, they're not asking you just to find x. You need to find the angle. You need to plug that x into the equation or expression to solve for the angle, to find the angle. Alright, this one's same thing as before, so I'm just going to label, same diagram, same information. So now they're saying if angle 2 is 6y plus 2, and then angle, that's weird. Oh, angle 1, this is supposed to be angle 1. Angle 1 is 6y plus 2, and angle 2 is 8y minus 14. Find angle ABE. So we're going to, they're equal. We're going to set them equal to each other. And then we're going to solve for y first. Cancel that out. That's angle 2 plus negative 14. Subtract 2 on both sides. I'm going to extend this. Angle, that angle, negative 2y. Divide negative 2, so that's going to give us 8. We're not done yet. We got to plug it in because we need to find angle ABE. So since these two are congruent, so whatever you find for angle 1 or 2, you just double it because it's going to be the same. So now I'm going to use angle 1, which is 6y plus 2. I'm going to plug in, which gives me 48 plus 2, 50. And then 50 times 2 gives me 100 degrees. And that's for angle ABE. There you go. Alright, this one, same information as before. You notice that, using the same diagram, but different things to find. Put this and that. Alright, so they say, is angle DBF a right angle? And explain. So let's go back to this problem and this problem. Actually, no, this problem. Based on this one, we notice that this is 100 degrees. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to label it as 100. So this whole thing here is 100 degrees. So are we able to find out what this is? Because we need to know if the angle, I'm going to highlight it in yellow. So angle DBF, is it a 90-degree angle? So we know that this is 100 because they're basing it on the other question. How do we find this one? Remember, we got a line here, and we got angles that are together. When you add all of these angles, it create 180 degree. So if this is 100, and this line is 180, so we're going to subtract to find the other angle. So that's 80 degrees. So this whole thing is 80 degrees. But since they said that this is the bisector, that means these two are congruent. So therefore, this is 40, and this is 40. And the same goes with the 100. This is the angle bisector. So these two are congruent. So if this is 100, half of 100 is 50. 50 and 50. So now, angle DBF is angle 2 and 3 put together to create that. Now, we have the two angles. You add them together. 50 plus 40 will give us 90. And is 90 degrees and a right angle? Yes, it is. So that angle is a right angle. Yes. It is a right angle. And put, oh, whoops. What did I do? That was weird. That was weird. Let me get that out of there. I was trying to write something because, yes, because 90 degrees represents a right angle. So there you go. So that's how you work with angles, lines, angle measurements. You just have to make sure whatever information they give you, use it, label. You can't go wrong with with label and stuff. So same thing with this. Let me see how much more we have. We got two more. So I'm going to work through this one. So they said that QS, ray QS bisects angle PQT. So that means these two are congruent to each other. And PQ and RQ are opposite rays. So that means this whole thing gives me 180 degrees. Just to write it there. Use this diagram to answer your question. So if angle PQT is 60, I'm going to put 60 degrees. And angle PQS is 4x plus 14. Find the value of x. So we just find an x. All right. Let's see what's going on here. This is bisecting this angle. So that means they already gave us the degree, which is 60. So if that is 60, then that means half of 60 is 30. So this is 30, and this is 30. So because this is 30, and they give us the expression for that, we still need to solve for x. So we can set that equal to 30. And then we solve. So 4x equals 16. Divide by 4. The x is equal to 4. So again, you label. This will help you to know how to set up the equation in order to solve for what they're asking you for. You don't label, then you're going to be lost. I mean, maybe you don't need to label, but for me, I like to label so I can see my information and pull it out so I can set up and then solve. And then the last one. Let's see what they have as information. They say that QS bisects this, so that means this is equal to this, congruent to that, and this opposite rays, so this is 180 degrees. So if angle PQS is 3x plus 13, and SQT is 6x minus 2, find angle PQT. PQT. So we need to find that. So these two are equal to each other because they are congruent, because this bisects. Bisects means congruent. So we set it equal to each other, and then we solve. But think about it. They didn't ask you to solve for x. They're asking you to find the angle. Pay attention to that. They're asking you to find the angle. So I'm going to continue solving for x. And my x is 5. Now, knowing that these two are congruent, that means they have to be the same. So whatever I find for one of them, I have to just double it. So I'm going to use another color to show that. So I'm going to use angle PQS, so which was 3x plus 13. I'm substituting what I found for x. So this would give me 15 plus 13, which would be 28 degrees. And for angle PQT, so I'm going to double that up. And that will give me 56 degrees. There you go. So that's dealing with angles. Alright, so just to recap, because it seems like there was a lot that we learned, if I can go back, okay, so we learned about angles and the different parts of an angle and different types of angles. We know that there's a ray, endpoint, and then it just continues, it starts at an endpoint and a line that keeps on going from that endpoint. Opposite rays, two rays share a common endpoint that creates a line. Angle formed by two rays with a common endpoint. That common endpoint is a vertex. And two angles that have the same measurement are congruent. We learned also how to label angles. Angles could be, for example, like angle A, if it's not sharing, the endpoint is not being shared with another angle. It could be angle A or angle 1, depending on what's inside. And it could be angle BAC or CAB. There's always three letters when you're doing an angle. And don't forget the symbol. When you're telling me BCA or whatever ABC, I'm going to think, what is that? You're learning your alphabet? No. You have to put an angle symbol. And also we learned about right angles, which is 90, acute angles, which is less than 90, and obtuse, which is more than 90 but less than 180. And we also learned about protractors. Protractors, you line the bottom part of the protractor with your starting point, your ray, your starting ray, and then depending on which direction you're going, determines which row of numbers you use. We did that. And bisect, angle bisector. You hear the word bisector, that should tell you congruent. Something's going to be congruent. Angle bisector bisects an angle into two congruent angles. And when it comes to trying to ask you what when you're doing these problems, label what is congruent, what is what, and then pay attention to what they're asking you for. Because there are times where they ask you to find an angle measurement, and then if you just give me the y, like y equals this, and didn't do anything else more, you only get partial credit. Pay attention. Read and pay attention. Alright, so if there's any questions, you can always email me for clarification or for more examples, just to get an understanding of this lesson. And with that being said, this ends our lesson. Have a good day.